Democratic National Alliance leader Brandon McCartney goes unchallenged at his party's inaugural convention. Union leaders across the country say they're getting ready for battle in response to the Sandals Nolly. And Bahamians are put on alert for Hurricane Matthew. We've got all these stories and more. I'm your host, David Turnquest, and this is the Tribune's Top 5. The Democratic National Alliance opened its first night of its inaugural convention to a crowd of some 650 persons, with the majority of its executive committee going unchallenged. Taking the stage to deliver the closing address on the opening night of the party's inaugural convention, Democratic National Alliance leader Brandon McCartney said his party existed as a chance for Bahamians to start over, claiming that consecutive governments have neglected and disrespected the needs and demands of voters. He told the crowd of supporters in attendance at the Super Club Breezes Resort that the Bahamian electorate now finds itself in a particularly unique situation, declaring that the DNA offers the opportunity of a lifetime. He insisted that the DNA has not abandoned its mission to offer true representation to the people of this country, and proclaimed that since its inception, the party has grown by leaps and bounds and now stands ready to reduce the challenges that face the country. All of the party's leadership team was successfully returned to office without challenge, and the party is expected to continue its candidates' rollout over the next month. The Bahamar Claims Committee has projected that 1,250 former employees have gone through the process and have received payouts this week. The committee is aiming to service roughly 90 to 95% of the resort's more than 2,000 former employees. While a number of former workers have expressed satisfaction with the amounts they received, there were some former workers who expressed issues with the process, with one alleging that it wasn't clear what the payout represented and that nothing was mentioned about pension payments. Financing for the payouts is coming from the China Export-Import Bank, the resort's main financier, and there's no clarity over how much the bank has put into the payout scheme. In an initiative dubbed the Joint Labor Movement, union leaders across the nation are attempting to sensitize their members to prepare them for a national protest. The country's two umbrella unions have warned their members to get ready for battle over Attorney General Alison Maynard Gibson's decision to stop criminal proceedings brought by union officials against Sandals Royal Bahamian and two of its senior executives. Trade Union Congress President Obi Ferguson and National Congress of Trade Unions Bahamas President John Pinder were supported by presidents and members of its various affiliates, and they're advocating for changes to the country's labor laws, which include but are not limited to amending the Industrial Relations Act in a bid to force an employer to the negotiating table within 90 days once the employer receives a proposed industrial agreement from the bargaining agent in that workplace. They also want the strengthening of a particular clause in the Employment Act that would make it very difficult for an employer to terminate workers without cause. The Nolly order in question halted the action launched against the resort, its general manager Gary Williams, and financial controller Fitzroy Walker. The action was brought by 5 officers of the Bahamas Hotel Maintenance and Allied Workers Union, who alleged that Sandals was in breach of the Industrial Relations Act by failing or refusing to treat or enter into negotiations with the union. Much of the public outcry over the Nolly has hinged on the fact that it was signed on August 15th, the same day that the hotel terminated more than 600 employees. After a lengthy delay, officials this week have revealed the total cost for this year's Bahamas Junkanoo Carnival event. The total spend was $9.8 million, with a government subsidy of $8.1 million. Ahead of the second annual event, it was projected that the government would only spend about $7 million to host the festival. When pressed by reporters over the financial implications of the annual event, Bahamas National Festival Commission Chairman Paul Major condemned opponents of the festival, whom he said continue to look at the country's annual investment instead of the carnival's economic impact. He said the festival was never and will never be about turning a profit on investment, explaining that no variation of carnival hosted around the world had generated a profit for its host nation. However, in response to widespread pushback over those comments, the BNFC has said that it is committed to full transparency, adding that its independent audit of the inaugural 2015 festival will be completed this month. A full year on since Hurricane Joaquin devastated the southern Bahamas, Hurricane Matthew is projected to make landfall on Tuesday as a Category 2 storm. The hurricane is expected to bring strong tropical storm force winds and heavy rain when it passes over the central and southeast Bahamas early next week, with residents being warned to begin hurricane preparations as soon as possible. By late Friday evening, the storm had intensified to a Category 4 hurricane, with maximum sustained winds of 140 miles per hour. Deputy Director of the Department of Meteorology, Basil Dean, said that while there are varying projections on how strong Hurricane Matthew will be when it approaches the Bahamas early Tuesday morning, All models indicate that the central and southeast Bahamas will experience strong tropical storm force winds and heavy rains. The storm warning comes as the country marks the anniversary of Hurricane Joaquin, which ripped through the central and southern Bahamas on October 1st, destroying homes and buildings and leaving heavy flooding in its wake. Want to get in on the discussion? Well, here's how you can. Like us on Facebook, Tribune News Network. Send us a tweet at Tribune242. Subscribe to our YouTube channel at Tribune242. Or log on to our website, www.tribune242.com.